2NURFM News for our sponsor, Cartier Jewellery, Toronto Town Square and the Esplanade, Warners Bay.
It's 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Tanya du Preez with 2NURFM Hunter News. The Australian government's signing of a defence contract with BAE Systems Australia will create 116 new air defence jobs in the Hunter. The contract is valued at $126 million and will support the RAF in appointing personnel to critical strategic priorities such as the Joint Strike Fighter. Bob Baldwin MP says the contract is vital for the local defence industry.
It's important that we keep these aircraft up to date and operational. It's the pathway to flying the Hornets, the Super Hornets, and eventually the Joint Strike Fighter, the training jet that we need to use. And it's much more economical and strategic to have this fleet well operational, well serviced, well maintained, so we can have the best trained pilots possibly have here in Australia.
Plans have been lodged for the construction of 13 industrial units for business operations on Kooragang Island in the Hunter. An environmental effects statement lodged with Planning and Environment New South Wales said the units will increase the range of support industries for businesses in that area with minimal environmental impact. The assessment also expects the development to create 26 jobs on site. Concerned residents are preparing to rally at William Town Hall tonight over a sand mine proposal to up truck movements along Nelson Bay Road by around 200%. Quarry Macus Sand is calling for an increase in the number of B-doubles allowed through the arterial access to 48, triple the 16 currently given the go-ahead by the Planning Assessment Commission. Port Stephens MP Kate Washington says she has serious reservations about safety.
Given it's the main arterial road and the connection to the peninsula of the Tilligary and Tomaree, there's real concerns that, if there's an accident along there, potential is for the peninsulas to be cut off, particularly if the accident happens up Paul's Corner. And then the quality of life issues for the neighbouring properties is a real concern as well.
The Hunter Regional Illegal Dumping Squad has identified the party responsible for dumping 10 tonnes of waste in Lake Macquarie last month. The waste, which was found in Barnsley, was tracked to a previously demolished house in Mount Hutton, where the perpetrator was issued a clean-up notice. Coordinator Alice Howe says the squad is still investigating 2 other recent illegal dumping incidents in the Hunter.
We are following up a number of leads in relation to 2 large dumps that were identified on the 17th of July. They seem to have come from Sydney, and we have some evidence that we're following up on in relation to those matters.
Lake Macquarie MP Greg Piper says the New South Wales government could establish a sinking fund to help deal with lead contamination in the Bullaroo area. Having just returned from a trip to Idaho visiting smelter-affected communities in the US, Mr Piper suggests a system should be in place to maintain cap and cover in perpetuity. Mr Piper says there are a number of options available, but a sinking fund is perhaps the best.
Once we know how these things are going to be managed, we also then have to try and estimate a cost and work out how that's going to be funded. Does the state want to put its hand up and manage any problems in perpetuity, or do they want to create a fund that can be administered for that purpose into the future? These are things that we have to talk about. I have a view that a sinking fund or a trust fund might be the most practical way of doing it.
Hospital staff and patients of Calvary Martin Newcastle were delighted after they received a very generous donation from the Auxiliary at their annual general meeting on Thursday. The Auxiliary's Cancer Carers group worked tirelessly all year to raise funds for the hospital and presented them with a cheque of $442,000. The donations will go towards hospital equipment and providing more comfort and care for patients. Spears Point motorists are being urged to stay patient today as work gets underway on a cathodic protection system to prevent corrosion along Cockle Creek Bridge. The southbound lane along 5 Islands Road will be closed between the Esplanade roundabout and Northern Bridge Arm until 2:30 this afternoon. David Naidu from Roads and Maritime Services says changed traffic conditions will be put in place.
One lane of the bridge will remain open with traffic control and a temporary 40 km/h speed limit in place, and that's to keep the workers and motorists safe. So Roads and Maritime Services thanks the community for their patience while we complete this essential maintenance work.
In finance, the All Ords is down 92 points at 55.08, and $1 is buying 73.8 US cents.
Sport for our sponsor, Warners Bay Sports Club Fishing Expo, September 13.
Newcastle Knights coach Danny Badiris says the Knights will have to do without prop Kate Snowden in Sunday's showdown against the Roosters. Snowden is still suffering post-concussion symptoms and is not expected to be cleared in time for the game at Hunter Stadium, with Sam Mataora and Joe Tapine tipped as replacements. 28-year-old Snowden was still undergoing tests yesterday. Ownership of the Jets could go to Scottish millionaire Stephen Thompson in the wake of Chief Executive Mitchell Murphy's departure. Thompson emerged as a potential buy in December, and the FFA is said to be stepping up negotiations as the October season start date looms. In ice hockey, the Newcastle North Stars will take on Adelaide Adrenaline tomorrow afternoon at the South Australian Ice Arena. And in local rugby, the Maitland Blacks are getting ready to face the Waratahs tomorrow at Marcellin Park, with breakaway Nick Davidson captaining his side for the first time. That's sport. I'm Tyler Fidel.
2NURFM news time is 1:05.